excited to do this show. Long time coming, right? Welcome back to Truth Hurts. We expose corrupt politicians, corrupt MNGOP chairs, and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live on a special Sunday show this December in the year 2024, the year of our Lord. Joining me as always, MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we got a lot to get into. I was not able to be a delegate at this last State Central Convention, but there was a lot of things that happened there. And as I'm learning from people that were there, it was, it sounds like David Hann has been slain. So we've got people already chatting it up in the comments here. We got Bill Dangsman, we got B.A. Bussman, Carol Hexam, Truth Seeker, Ballston, O'Bannon, Marty 1967, and Holy Moly 365. So appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you want to make sure that your comment is read, leave a Rumble rant, and we'll be sure to interrupt and get right to it.
Yes, one Rumble rant interrupts whatever we're talking about, and we'll go right to your comment live. It helps fund the show. Joining me, the Rhino Hunter Hall of Famer, Dale Zorb. How you doing, Dale?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I'm happy.
Show people your jacket. I know a lot of people have seen this before. This is a very special jacket. Do a little turnaround there. Dawson will work the camera. Work it, Dale. Work it. Oh, stabbed in the back, this conservative voter by the Rhinos. It's right off camera view. There we go. Perfect. That jacket's actually been, between you and me, what have we gone to Vegas, Orlando. Where else have we been with that jacket? It's traveled. It's been there behind Secret Service with Paul Ryan when he was the Speaker of the House. That's a good photo you got. Running the dials is always Deep State himself, Mr. Dawson. How you doing, Dawson?
I'm good. My camera isn't working, but I promise I'm here.
Okay, there we go. His camera's not working. Jeez, whose fault is that? Are we not charging the batteries these days?
Well, they were all at a fun little event that happened on
Thursday.
That was very
Thursday. That long ago. I was gonna call Larry Deuce. I'm like, hey, congratulations, Rhino Hunter of the Year. 48 hours later, David Hann gets canned. We couldn't do the show with the great sponsors today. Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, you give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Check out their social media. These guys think like you and me. They're great people. In fact, both Andrew and Warren were at the Action for Liberty Christmas event, part of the sponsorship of the after party, which was a rocking good time. Also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. We have on the show today former Representative Erik Mortensen and Chairman of Action for Liberty. Let's go to the A1 real quick, Dawson. This is an article from Action for Liberty published yesterday that says Liberty wing of MNGOP successfully cans David Hann. In a highly anticipated event, the MNGOP State Central Committee met today, Saturday, December 14th, and held elections for chair, deputy chair, and secretary. After years of destroying the MNGOP, Action for Liberty can finally report that David Hann has been removed from power. Erik Mortensen, how does it feel to see the Hann get canned?
So good. It was a long time coming, for sure. And I got to give props to all the delegates yesterday. They all did a great job organizing and picking good fights inside the convention floor. And it was very, very sweet to see David Hann have to give his chair update after he lost his election, where he pretty much said, well, I don't have this job anymore, so I'm going to have a very, very short update for you guys.
That's what he said?
Oh, well, something to that effect, yes.
Oh, man. See, I wasn't even there, I was coaching a basketball game, nor am I a State Central delegate, so I couldn't have voted. But looks like we do have a Rumble rant.
Yeah, we got a $10 Rumble rant from G. Ballstead saying, woohoo, nice work, gentlemen. So stoked Hann got the can. Maybe Dale can run for State Executive Committee.
What do you think, Dale?
You got some fans here, Dale.
You like that?
Well, I guess, I don't know.
Okay, there we go. We got a campaign manager for you.
Yep, there we go.
All right, so tell us, what do you think happened here? Why did Hann get canned?
Well, I mean, his track record is long. It goes back, to at least Otter Tail County, and I don't mean this past year. I mean 2 years ago, when Otter Tail County booted people out of conventions, removed delegates for the crime of not supporting a Rhino establishment Republican that won a primary, which, mind you, we watch the Minnesota GOP campaign against endorsed Republicans all the time. But when people that they don't like do it, they remove their delegate status. So, I mean, supporting unendorsed candidates, kicking delegates off the voter rolls. The guy doesn't fight for anything, never fought for anything. When you look at Trump, whether you love Trump, hate Trump, he fights everybody, whether you're a liberal Democrat or you're, a libertarian. You have to acknowledge Donald Trump fights for the people. And David Hann has never fought for anything. He couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. So I think people are starting to see through it. Obviously, there's been multiple attempts over the years, and at Action for Liberty, as you well know, this all started about 3 years ago with a big push to get people to go to caucus. And Action for Liberty, I mean, hundreds of thousands of emails, thousands of phone calls. We turned out thousands of new people to the caucuses in 2022. We got those people to turn into state central delegates in 2023. And then earlier this year, we held a parliamentary procedure training in May to train delegates on how to use the rules on a convention floor to fight the establishment. So all that work for 3 years now has really culminated to yesterday. I sent an email out about it, maybe, I don't know, 2-3 hours ago, just making sure everybody knows there's been a lot of effort that's been put into this. I personally made motions to kick David Hann out of his office. Larry Deuce, like you said, made a motion almost a year ago to the day to remove Hann from office. And everything culminated, especially when he was talking about this 1972 thing, this company that the GOP has paid maybe $35,000 to. And he was so opaque, he wouldn't answer any questions. He first claimed he has no idea who they are, and then later said, well, there's
I got to stop you there. So people don't understand this. And we brought this up on the show. There's this company that was getting about $30,000 from the GOP. It's called 1972-10. It's a Wyoming company, no registered principal. No one knows who it is. Members of the state exec asked. So what you're referring to is he was actually compelled by a resolution that passed on the delegate floor, tell me if I've got this right, to disclose who's behind it and what they were paying for. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was Jennifer DeJournette, Hann's first victim, that he got stripped from his opposition, because Jennifer was running for MNGOP chair, and she was a legitimate contender. She's been in GOP politics for 20 years. But he was able to get her pushed off the ballot, and she forced that motion. And yeah, it passed pretty overwhelmingly by the body. And I was so curious to see, how is David Hann going to thread this needle? Because the election for chair still is coming up, and he's going to have to thread a needle to appease the body and be transparent enough with them, but not too much, because obviously there's something shady going on here where he would hurt his reelection chances. So he squirmed on stage for about 10 minutes trying to explain it. The body was not satisfied with his explanation at all. In fact, I entertained making a motion at that point to have a vote of no confidence in David Hann because it was really awful explanation. Now, some of his sycophants, David Hann could do no wrong, so he was still getting some applause for his excuse. But the body was very, very upset with his inability to answer that very simple question. Who is this company? What are they doing for us? And there have been no answers to date.
As an outsider, and I could say this because you're an insider, you and Dale are insiders. You guys are insiders. You're the establishment because you guys are state central members. I'm not part of that, right? And I saw a video. Somebody's taking a video of this because they want an explanation. And the Sergeant Arms, I'm assuming Sergeant Arms, someone comes up to that individual and says, you can't film this. So not only is he not giving an answer when he's compelled to give an answer on this mysterious company, they're not even supposed to film it. They didn't allow media there. What is this party hiding?
Well, that's what I shouted out at one point. I watched all those videos you're referring to because I was in the back of the room when he started to explain it, and he said it's a secret. We signed an NDA. They don't want to be known. And I shouted out, well, what are you hiding then? I mean, you obviously are hiding something. And why are we hiring vendors to work on behalf of a party when the vendor wants nothing to do with the party, supposedly, is what David Hann has to say.
Yeah, and every person that donates over $200 is disclosed. So the donors have to be disclosed, but not the vendor. It doesn't even make sense. Well, it kind of does make sense because they're clearly hiding something. Dawson, let's pull up the A2 here. So the DFL, smart on them. They don't miss a beat. They're going to already have a statement on it. Let's not donate to the DFL. Let's go ahead and click on that little. Does the GOP even have a pop-up ad asking to donate? We'll see. This is a statement yesterday, or hold on. Yeah, yesterday, December 14th. DFL statement on far-right overthrow of MNGOP chair. Scroll up a little bit. MNGOP Chair David Hann was deposed on Saturday with the help of far-right activists, including the group Action for Liberty. Minnesota DFL Chairman Ken Martin released the following statement after MNGOP David Hann was deposed on Saturday with the help of far-right activists, including the group Action for Liberty. The Minnesota GOP has been completely captured by most extreme fringe activists in Minnesota politics, said Minnesota DFL Chairman Ken Martin. Control of Minnesota's entire state government is on the ballot in 2026. Today's chaos shows that if Minnesota Republicans regain power, they will be beholden to the same far-right fringe that now dominates the National Republican Party, end quote by soon-to-be Democrat DNC chair Ken Martin, right? Actually, not even the favorite for that position. You have an idea, Jesse. Let's release this. Yeah. Jesse has an idea. If Ken Martin becomes the DNC chair because he's running for the DNC, you have a good replacement for him, right?
I've got an idea because, considering that, Ken Martin, if he's going to be getting this promotion, that leaves this DFL spot open, wide open. Who should take that? Well, I think it should be given to someone who has proven that they will not help Republicans ever win. So there's David Hann. David Hann for DFL chair. I've destroyed the MNGOP once, and I'll do it again. He's worked against endorsed candidates. He's been against Action for Liberty. He's gone against conservative principles. He's abandoned everything that the conservatives stand for. So the Democrats probably couldn't find any better candidate than David Hann, and considering that he's now lost his job as GOP chair, I think it's only a matter of time before the Democrats give him a consideration.
All right, Mort, so you're named in this. You run and lead the organization. Far better than that former president they had. I mean, my God, that guy. You lead the group Action for Liberty that's mentioned by Ken Martin, the chair of the DFL. What's your take on this?
Well, I focus on the last sentence where they say something about extremism, whatever, but that dominates the National Republican Party. Well, what happened a month and 10 days ago to the National Republican Party? They won huge. They got Donald Trump in the office. They got the U.S. Senate. They got the U.S. Congress. I don't think Harris took or flipped a single county in the country from Trump to Harris.
Wasn't it one?
I heard
none. No.
Whatever.
I'm sorry. Outperformed in a precinct or something like that. No, she didn't flip. You're right. Something like it was. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It was pathetic.
So, when I see messaging like that saying they're going the path of the National Republican Party, I'm going, yes, thank God we're going the path of the National Republican Party. They're growing. They're booming. It's a good place to be. So I want to see the Minnesota GOP get in that position. And I don't think it's all that difficult. I think we either need kind of a figurehead that's going to lead the party. And I'm not sitting here saying that's Alex. I don't think he's quite the flamethrower that we need like a Trump. But really what we need then, if Alex isn't going to be that guy, are the base. The GOP base needs to become the predators that the party is to the GOP base. You know what I mean? The GOP leadership preys on the base. They treat the base like idiots, and they tell the base, here's what you have to do. We lost because you didn't donate enough money. Or they say they lost because the base wants to be a pro-life base. I think we need to flip the script on that, and the base needs to prey on GOP leaders like we did yesterday to David Hann and force their hands to actually act and deliver for the base. The DFL knows, every Democrat politician knows they have to go through the environmentalists to win. They have to go through the alphabet group to win. And it's time that the GOP leadership and politicians learn they have to go through the liberty movement to win.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. I think it was Cindy Lou, I want to say in the comment section, there's a lot of work to be done. But that's it. If it seems very clear that even the Democrats can tell that the Liberty Wing wields a big stick here and that it's kind of got to go through the Liberty Wing, then obviously it's double down time for Action for Liberty. Am I wrong on that? Don't we have to get more people involved in the process?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everybody on yesterday was talking about we have to unify. And of course, nobody's anti-unification, but I always wonder, well, unify behind what?
Right.
And whether you take, the GOP base and its factions, you've got pro-life, you've got pro-gun, and of course, a lot of these things kind of blend into each other. But when you look at the base, I would say 100% of the base believes in liberty. I think they see the GOP as the party of liberty, but they never deliver. We watch the Democrats deliver for their base. We just saw it for the last 2 years of the DFL trifecta.
Right.
When they have power, they use it. If the GOP actually started using the power when they acquire it, the base will grow. The base will balloon. Have we learned nothing from Trump? If you actually fight for the people, disenfranchised voters will come back if they see that there's a point to voting for the Minnesota GOP again.
All right. So I think one of the interesting things about the show we did last Sunday, Jesse, is we had talked about the shenanigans that were occurring with the nominations committee. So what ended up coming from that? I know you weren't there either, but you've got the...
Yeah, I've heard, and I guess we'll let more confirm it, but I had heard that Aaron Ferris used the nominations committee report just as Action for Liberty had reported that he was going to find Alex Plekish qualified with reservations, that he found Mike Murphy qualified with reservations, that he gave this speech where he was insulting the delegates, coming off as a pompous, arrogant 20-year-old who looked like a kid up there. So tell us what exactly happened with the nominations committee report, Eric.
Yeah, love to. So I've never seen such a long nomination committee report. Normally they just go up and they say, this candidate was qualified, this one was qualified at the reservation, or this one was found unqualified. And that's it. Then the NomCom chair, the nominations committee chair, sits his butt back down. But Aaron Ferris, you're right. I think he's 22 officially. My 15-year-old son looks older than Aaron Ferris. So Aaron Ferris is up on stage, and he first goes into Alex Plekish, and he says that he was found qualified with reservations, and he just started hammering Alex, saying he doesn't have a plan, he can't raise money, he's never been on a board, whatever he all said. And probably 45 seconds into this NomCom report, the crowd, the body in the room kind of went nuts and totally turned against him and started berating Aaron Ferris, which was a lot of fun for me in particular. And so he finishes Alex and he goes to Mike Murphy and he says the same thing, qualified with reservations, he can't raise money. And then Aaron says, because last year we raised $8.5 million. So he's taking it as an opportunity to tout David Hann's historical performance while bashing all of David Hann's competitors.
Right.
And mind you, they've already kicked Jennifer DeJournette off the ballot to begin with.
Did she fight to get back on, by the way?
I don't know how hard she fought. I've only spoken to her a couple times, so I don't know the whole story. But then they got to Brett Bussman, and the crowd's getting worked up. And he said Brett Bussman was unqualified, and he starts giving a litany of excuses, and the body just reacted to him and started booing him, and Aaron shouted out. He lost his cool. I mean, I bet David Hann is really pissed off at Aaron Ferris today. So Aaron Ferris loses his cool, and mind you, this kid is like 22 years old. He looks like he's about 11. He barks back to the body and says, everybody needs to get in order. This isn't an adult daycare. And, your average Republican delegate is, 55, 60 years old. And they've got some punk kid on the stage barking at them saying this isn't an adult daycare. And the body lost their minds and shouted at him. And then he gets to David Hann. And all he said was, David Hann was found qualified. And then he went and sat down. Yeah, it was so corrupt. It was so slanted. It was unbelievable. But when Aaron Ferris gave the NomCom report for deputy chair, he had learned his lesson, and all he did was say Donna Bergstrom was found qualified and Kip Christensen was found qualified, and he rushed his ass back to his seat to sit back down because he knew he had really done some damage. And I think largely he didn't do David Hann any favors. So it was hilarious. That kid learned a tough lesson yesterday that it's always a bad idea to insult the entire delegation in front of you. I would recommend against that if Aaron Ferris is watching.
Right, and he so obviously rigged and tilted the nominations committee to help David Hann. It's not even like they subtly did it, that was just the most blatant, obvious way you could do it to try to say that David Hann is the only qualified candidate as he's destroying the party.
And we got leaked audio of the Brett Bussman interview, which is interesting. I'm not going to play it for you more because on Zoom they don't play back the audio, so you wouldn't even get to hear it. But I'm sure you've heard it. and they are asking multiple times about Brett's affiliation with Action for Liberty, as if that can't happen as chair of the party. Did I lose Mort?
No, I'm here. I thought you were playing audio.
No, I'm not going to play the audio because it won't play back to you. But you've heard that, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I've listened to all of it, but, I mean, they were drilling him on Action for Liberty. They asked him about Truth Hurts. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Brett, God bless his heart. His heart's in the right place, but he was so over his head in this thing that he didn't seem to realize you're in a political battle right now. Like, this isn't about facts. Unfortunately, this isn't about legalities. This is political warfare. And when they asked him, well, why'd you go on the Truth Hurts? And his answer was something like, well, I think anytime I get an opportunity to go on a show, I should do it and spread the Republican message. And I think he asked the members of the nominations committee, well, wouldn't you do the same? And I don't know who this woman is, but I heard her say,
no, I know who it was. It was Michelle Mankey.
Yeah, CD4 chair.
Okay, yeah. She said, oh, gosh, no. And the right answer, if it was me, and they're asking me this question, the right answer in my mind was, well, Walter Hudson was on the Truth Hurts just recently, so what's the problem?
Right.
And turn it back on them. But instead, he just played defense the whole time, and he made a lot of missteps along the way, for sure.
Yeah,
well,
we can't have
even tried to use
conversations.
it,
That's so terrible. In this
right, they even
world,
tried to use it against Brett, that he volunteered at the Action for Liberty State Fair booth. You know, the fact that we're the most popular state fair booth attacking Tim Walz, but it's a bad thing that Brett Bussman is helping us and getting that message out there, even though it should be a message that the Republican Party should accept with open arms.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about their booth.
Yeah, nobody does. I went over there just to look at it, and it's boring. There's nothing going on. I mean, of course, the GOP, historically, maybe something will change with Alex, but, you know, even Republican legislators say that the Action for Liberty is just a bunch of Democrats trying to fight against the GOP. And that's why I love the state fair booth every year. It's why I wore my Walls Lies hat yesterday at the convention, because
Well, wait, I thought you only attack Republicans, Mort.
We hold the Republicans accountable, and I think that's what has to happen.
There you go. All right, so you attack Democrats too. You know,
slightly, yeah.
Oh, it's just so funny. That's like the talking point from the establishment. And yet we have the Walz failed booth, or the Never Walz booth. Like,
right, but,
hello.
But meanwhile, the Democrats obviously see Action for Liberty as a threat because they're labeling it far right. And we got Michael Broadcorp out there on Twitter who's out there saying that Alex Plekish needs to disavow Action for Liberty immediately after the win. So
let's pull that up.
What do you say about that?
Well, let's go to the quote here. This is a tweet from A3. Someone shared this with me.
This is Broadcorp?
From Michael Broadcorp.
Yeah, A3.
A3. and this is from him quoting the Action for Liberty tweet, which says let me pull it up on my computer. You blew it up for the audience, but I can't see it now. Okay, the Liberty wing of the MNGOP that we've been encouraging and training on how to get involved in the political process just removed David Hann as chair of the MNGOP. This must have been, you or somebody on the team yesterday, Mort. Broadcorp responds to that tweet, says, incoming MNGOP chair Alex Plekish. I'm sorry. For those people who don't know who Michael Broadcorp is, you're not a crazy person. You're a normal person, right? So just let me describe who Michael Broadcorp is. This is a disgraced former deputy chair of the Republican Party, a guy who had an affair with the Senate Majority Leader. She had an affair. I think she was married, but he definitely had an affair. I think his wife was actually getting cancer treatment too at the time. He then slams his vehicle, gets in a car accident, and blows a whatever it is, but gets a Dewey. This guy has now gone on multiple election cycles endorsing Democrats. He endorsed Tim Walz in 2022 for governor. He endorsed Kamala Harris in 2024. This guy is the biggest piece of shit on the planet, and he thinks he's somewhat relevant in Republican politics. So he's tweeting at the MNGOP.
He sent out a deceitful endorsement of Alex Plekish, where he is telling people, I think Alex Plekish this and this and this. So, he did that saying Kamala, with the Harris Republicans for Kamala. So that was done to try to convince delegates to get behind David Hann, as if David Hann is some sort of MAGA candidate.
Now, we do know that Michael Broadcorp watches the show. So, hi, Michael. Good to see you. Incoming MNGOP chair Alex Plekish must publicly distance himself from Action for Liberty, who is taking credit for his victory today. AFRL is toxic to the conservative Republican major donor community in Minnesota. Go ahead. What do you got to say about that, Mort?
Oh, I just think the turn of events is hilarious because Friday night he sent that email saying how great Alex is, and he's supposedly a never Trumper, and then 24 hours later he's saying Alex needs to distance himself from these guys. These guys are crazy. And what I noticed when he put that out there is he blocked. It pixelated some of the text from the text that Alex had sent out, and so BroadCorp, all he put in there or left in there was. If we don't make changes to get the competent operations, we're sitting ducks as Hans crew was in CD2. But what Alex had said, I'm looking at the text on my phone, he said, I will end these underhanded shenanigans and the bullying. So it was interesting that BroadCorp decided to, kind of blur that stuff out because it was obvious. I even emailed BroadCorp back and said, dude, everybody can see through that this is an effort, a lame effort, to try to push support in Hans' direction. And I think that's why everybody thinks this 1972 company is actually really affiliated with Michael BroadCorp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is interesting. I had two theories, and that one I'm leaning more towards. Full disclosure, I just actually chatted with Alex Plekish on the phone, congratulating him on his victory. And invited him on the show. I do want him on the show. I'll just categorize it as I think he's a little leery because there is a what's the word I'm looking for? A stigma, so to speak, with the establishment for coming on our show, which is utterly stupid because after watching what just happened, it seems very obvious to me it's the losing side that doesn't want to embrace the liberty movement. It's the losing side that doesn't want to actually have conversations and try to move forward together. And so this invitation show is open-ended, Alex, because I know Alex watches the show. It's open-ended. I want you on the show. Maybe it's going to take multiple times. Maybe we have to have some hard conversations. But honest to God, we're here. One of the talking points, more, and you could address this, is that there's this group, and sometimes they don't even want to label it, but it's Action for Liberty is who they're referring to, that doesn't actually want a strong Republican Party. They want a weak Republican Party because they make money or they get more followers over it, which I think is utterly ridiculous. But go ahead. What do you say to people that say something like that?
Well, I had people ask me last night at the convention because that's what Walter Hudson went up there and said. And he left Action for Liberty's name out of his mouth. But Walter Hudson got up there and he said, well, you guys need to know there are people in this room that run organizations that benefit from a weak GOP. And so they don't want Hann to get elected because they want the party to be weak. Well, I welcome anybody watching this to go to actionforliberty.com, read our news articles, sign up for our emails, and you tell me if it sounds like we want a weak Republican Party. Because all we do, and not all we do, but a lot of what we do is complain about these cowards, these pansies, these people that will not stand up and fight. And the party is so weak right now, and we want them to be strong and actually deliver. I think the Republican Party is our best hope at restoring liberty. Otherwise, I wouldn't be involved in party politics outside of Action for Liberty. I wouldn't be a state central delegate if I didn't feel like out of the two major parties, the Republican Party was supposed to be the party of liberty. So it's absolutely idiotic if anybody believes that Action for Liberty doesn't want a strong Republican Party. It's insane.
All right, let's go to that one Rumble rant, and then I got one last question.
Yeah, we got a $5 Rumble rant. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot says, not sure if it was said yet on the road, but I heard through the grapevine that Alex got 194 to Hans 150-ish. So you're talking about the vote totals.
Go back to
I don't think the vote
article.
totals were actually read for the final. At least that's from what I heard. So I guess we don't know exactly what the vote totals were. And, on Plekish, one thing I do want to say is I've definitely, let my opinions be known on the podcast and articles about Plekish, and I've definitely got a healthy amount of skepticism when it comes to him and taking over his chair. But I'm going to give him an opportunity to take this chance to become the chair, and I want to see how he does because if he's willing to correct course and if he's willing to, move the party in a different direction, I'm all here for it. So I've got to keep that skepticism, and we have to hold our leaders accountable. But he's given now that he's the chair, we have to give him that opportunity to rise to the occasion.
I saw a really good comment there. It was about how all these establishment Republicans are going to want Action for Liberty in a evenly split House and a one-person majority. They're going to want us to go after those Democrats, the one swing voter. Of course, they're going to love that. They all loved it when we were going after the burglar senator, right? Amy Stevens says, I heard that Mort was mistaken for Jake yesterday at the convention by an angry hater. Was that true, Mort? Have we been mistaken for each other?
Yeah. I guess he did mistake me for you. Yeah, Jennifer Wiesenberg introduced me to him, and I had a fun interaction with him. It's a lot of fun to be in there and know that while our loyalty is to principle and obviously the principle of liberty. So, when I walk these floors, I'm not worried about relationships or appeasing politicians. And I try to make that as well known as possible. I don't give them the time of day. But, I got to say this. Tom Emmer kicked this whole thing off. And he wasn't the only person to say this, but he said, look, as you guys, do your business today, you have to realize and remember your enemy is not in this room, that we have to unite. But then, an hour later, you get Walter Hudson on stage saying there's somebody in this room that leads an organization that wants us to be weak. So you get all these establishment guys preaching, there's no enemies in this room, because they kept saying it. But of course, they were waging war on the people in the room. They just weren't doing it vocally. They were doing it with their actions.
Rules for thee, but not for me. Go back to the Action for Liberty article on the A1 there, Dawson, real quick, and then I'm going to finish one question with you. That we have their vote totals. The first round of votes went 140 for David Hann, 86 for Alec Plekish, 84 for Brett Bussman, 37 for Mayor Mike Murphy, and one spoiled ballot. What happened then was by rule, Mike Murphy got dropped off. David Hann gained 13 votes to 153. Plekish moved up to 114. And Brett Bussman went down for one blank ballot. Bussman got kicked off the ballot by rule. And from our understanding, probably the majority of the votes, I saw someone, that was a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, alluded to maybe 190 to 150. So Hann maybe lost some more. They didn't announce it. After Hann lost, there was still a battle for deputy chair. And I'm not saying Donna Bergstrom's some great champion for liberty, but Mort, you were pretty vocal about Hann's running mate, Kip Christensen. What happened in that race?
It was fascinating between those two. Kip gets up there and does his first speech, and you could tell he was trying to find his lane and how he could pull this off after Hann had just lost. So I think it's hilarious those two made it clear they were running mates. That was probably a giant mistake on Kip's behalf. So Kip gets up there, and David Hann is like low energy. He's like Jeb Bush, of Minnesota, low energy David Hann. And he's boring to listen to. And so Kip gets up there, and he is Mr. High Energy. He's yelling and screaming and trying to fire up the crowd. And about halfway through his speech, Kip, his whole tone and demeanor just changed into this really quiet. It was kind of like his video, his really creepy video he put out a couple weeks ago. And he even said, well, I guess I was being too loud. I saw a bunch of you guys covering your ears. And he just had a hard time finding his lane. And then, Donna went up and did her thing, and not inspiring by any stretch of the imagination. She had the power to kind of tug on Hann and keep him in check for the last 2 or 3 years, but refused to do so. So I have no sympathy for Donna. But Kip's just bad news. Donna's kind of a known commodity. Kip is a well-documented liar. By no means would I want Kip in there. So this thing came out pretty evenly after the first ballot, and I thought there was another candidate. Oh yeah, Fred. There's a guy named Fred.
Oh yeah.
So Fred lost. He backed out, and I think a lot of us were anxiously awaiting: is Fred going to endorse one of these two? And a lot of the people that were just anti-establishment and Hann Kip in particular. I know I was one of them. I was hoping he would endorse Donna. Because I do think Donna's learned some lessons. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, and she claims she learned her lessons. Now, there's a very good chance she's just saying that in order to get reelected, since she is a politician. But ultimately, it came down to Kip lost by, I think, 5 votes.
Right.
And I was actually sitting by the door when they brought in the results before anything was announced. And you could see them tell Kip that he had lost, and he just was so dejected. He was so sad. I almost felt bad for him, and everybody was shaking Donna's hand. So I was like, oh, I think Donna pulled this off. And Kip goes up to give his concession speech. And thank goodness, well, I guess I'm assuming he didn't have any firearms on him because he was so depressed. It was like, is this guy going to be okay? He
Oh,
is
really?
so dejected. Oh, my gosh. It was honestly kind of sad. About 10, 15 seconds into his concession speech, a woman in the back, he hollered out, "We love you, Kip." And I about shouted out, "No, we don't." But I was like, you know what? Let's not kick a guy while he's down. He just got beat, and he was so depressed about it. But he started going through those, 7 stages of grief really, really quickly, because about an hour later, as we were leaving, I walked by him in the hallway, and we were pretty secluded. And he stops me, and he is seething pissed. So he went from, sad to angry in about an hour. And he had some choice words for me. And I told him, "Look, man, as far as I'm concerned, you're a well-documented liar. I don't care what you have to say." And he did one of these to me. He does this. "You come at me, bro." He does this "come at me, bro" thing. And I just laughed and said, "Dude, we literally just did, and you lost. We'll see you later." And I just kind of laughed and walked away from him.
He lost by 5 votes, and the interesting thing is he reaches out, wants to come on the show, but I don't think it was honest. I don't think he really did want to be on the show. I think he wanted us to deny him and then say, "Look, they're too chicken shit to talk to me." So I opened up the show, come on the show, and he bails on us in the 11th hour. And it's like, God, if you really are an honest, good person, you had a good message, you probably could have earned those 5 votes on the Truth Hurts show there, smart guy. The other thing is, someone just shared a story with me. I don't want
who's to say he would have won votes on here, though?
Well, that's a good point.
He probably would have lost a couple more.
Listen,
I think he would have lost some.
Well, no, hold on. I did say, if he's got a good, honest message, right? Now, you're making an assumption he doesn't. Fair assumption, right? But if he does, he could come on the show, make a good argument, and possibly win those 5 votes. Maybe his calculation was, I'll lose votes from doing the show. All right, so a person...
I just want to say this, because Alex has already been on the show, right? And I watched it. So I don't know why he's fearful, because he's promising he's going to unite all factions of conservatives. And it sounds like, based on the conversation you just had with him, that maybe he's not going to put that effort in, and it hasn't even been 24 hours since he won. So I hope he does. I plan on reaching out to him, too, because I'm fine with a clean slate, and I totally agree with Jesse said. We need to give him an opportunity and see what happens. Of course, if he doesn't do the right thing, then he can expect the same thing to happen to him that happened to David Hann yesterday.
By the way, I started out that way with David Hann. The former chair, Jennifer Carnan, was a nutcase. I was happy David Hann. I didn't think he was a great state senator. We never had any big problem with each other. We just never saw eye to eye. I had some conversations with him when he was a Senate Majority Leader. I was hopeful on David Hann. It pretty much started with 2 things. They didn't want to have actual paper ballots at the 2022 state convention, and we called that out, Action for Liberty. And he used the podium, the bully pulpit, which we had no remark to, slamming us for calling for paper ballots. I thought this was the party of paper ballots, Clearly not. And no audit trail, by the way. And then the second thing was a campaign finance attack against us, coordinated by their attorney. And then, the icing on the cake was in August or whenever it was, they sent out an email communication to the whole state. So Hann created an enemy out of us. It didn't need to be that way. We could work together with them. Actually, I'm already forgetting the battle. It was before that they were even cutting off access to endorsed candidates. So they created the enemy, right? We have no problem. We want to work with Alex Plekish. We want to be successful. The problem is, a lot of these people, they just want a monopoly on center-right politics, and we're a threat to that because we don't care about being reelected or prestige or the social club. We care about advancing liberty. So as long as you're on board with advancing liberty, you got an ally. But if your job is to just get rid of all the other factions on the right because you want some monopoly for power, we're not on board with that. We're going to have trouble. And I hope Alex Plekish isn't that way.
Right, and God Saves Our Republic has a good comment. Hold Alex's feet to the fire, and I agree
100%.
with that entirely because that's what Action for Liberty, the Truth Hurts, that's what it's all about. Without groups like us, there isn't going to be someone who is holding the Republicans accountable. We have to do it from a principled stand. That's why we do it from liberty. And I think that's the only way that we can move forward. But we have to make sure that we maintain a conservative party because otherwise it's just 2 sides of the same coin.
Final.
Yeah, I mean, just I want to throw this in there because once Walter kind of threw us under the bus without mentioning Action for Liberty or me by name, I had people asking me about it, and I said, look, while I don't want Hann to win, the outcome from today literally changes nothing at Action for Liberty. Right. Our game plan is exactly the same. We're going to keep doing exactly what we've been doing. So the outcome today is really insignificant from an Action for Liberty perspective.
All right, final word here, Mort. I read your email today. You guys do have an objective. It's for no Republican to vote for additional spending. Republicans can hold the line and make sure that we go back to 2020 levels of spending in the state government. Like, that's a big, crazy thing. Just 2020, right? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's the line that we're drawing in the sand, that in 2023, the Democrats jacked up spending by like 38%. So we're just saying, look, 2020 was not that long ago. Everything was just fine in 2020, and well, other than COVID. But one might argue before COVID hit, we were more civilized to everybody than we were, especially after COVID and vaccine mandates and mask mandates and lockdowns. So yeah, let's just go back to the 2020 spending levels.
All right, so people can go to actionforliberty.com and learn more about the organization. I think that's the right call. Let's all unify. Let's go back to 2020 spending levels. Republicans, you go around the state, you earn votes by saying government's the problem, government's too big. Show us you want to shrink it. Let's do it, all right? Unify with us on that. Thanks so much, Mort, and I know you're going to enjoy Yellowstone's season.
Series finale.
Series finale.
17 minutes.
There you go. I haven't even watched the new season, by the way, because they made it so hard this season. All right, take care, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, before we go to Tushi, I just want to cover this real quick. There was this delegate. I'm not going to say who the delegate is. Let's just say it's a BPOU and CD1, and she, I don't know, he or she, gender neutral, okay, couldn't stomach voting for Donna Bergstrom on that second ballot. And she had a couple other members, and her, I'm just going to say her. Just gender stuff. It's a girl, okay? It could be disguising it. It's really a guy. All right? But it's a girl, all right? And she had a couple other cohorts in the BPOU that wouldn't vote for Donna, but they didn't want to vote for Kip. And so what they did is they left blank ballots. And apparently, you were there, Dale.
Yeah.
The counters came back and said there's one missing ballot. CD1 has to redo their vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, they said there was a sticky ballots. So
Sticky ballots.
somebody had too many candy canes or something, but they had some sticky ballots, and CD1 had to re-vote.
Okay, so the revote.
It was bizarre.
And apparently this individual and some of her friends in the BPOU decided it's must be close. That's why they're doing it. We're actually gonna vote, and we're gonna vote for Donna. So Donna was that close to losing because it was enough votes that probably would have swung it the other way. Let that one sink in. Donna Bergstrom feel good about winning that spot back, but I don't know how much it was earned, to be honest with you, because quite frankly, she turned against Otter Tail
She's
County.
only there because of the Liberty Wing. If the Liberty Wing did not save her, she would not have held that position. So she owes it to people who are the grassroots, who are the conservative. She owes it to them because those are the people who put her in power.
She really does. She really does. And I think there was a lot of sympathy for Donna because David Hann he stabbed her in the back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah. His jacket.
and without even telling her, she finds out, she finds out on the internet.
Oh, S. Dutton has a theory. They say Aaron Ferris cried on the ballots and they stuck together. So, perhaps he was just, going through the emotions of David Hann's loss. So I think that's very, very likely.
Oh, that's funny. All right, somebody that knows this about as good as anyone else that probably made more phone calls in the last couple of weeks, Mr. Liberty Longbeard, Paul Tucci. How you doing there, buddy? Tucci, I don't have audio for you. You there, buddy?
You didn't hear that. Yeah,
no, I didn't hear a single thing if you were trying to say something.
Yeah. Trying to get my video to work here. Obviously, you saw my background, but
Okay. Well, you're still running for MNGOP chair then, huh? Is that a 2-year process?
I mean, we're actually just starting the process of electing state central delegates in January. Can't believe this low battery on this phone here. My God. Yeah, January is when we elect our state central delegates. So, in the past, before the last corrupt chairs decided that we should elect chairs in December, which it was easier for them as incumbents to win re-election. We used to always elect chairs in May, and so we would in January, February, March they would have BPOU conventions, and somebody running for MNGOP chair or secretary, treasurer, whatever they could, deputy chair, they could go campaign at all these BPOUs where they were electing their state central delegates, and then you have election just months later. So this process is pretty foolish, where we elected all these delegates 2 years ago, and now we finally got rid of David Hann. Now we're going to elect a brand new set of delegates, in a month.
Cindy Lou asked a really good question for you, and there's not a better guy to explain it. Maybe there's a better guy to explain it shorter than you, but someone that understands the process. You're about as good as it comes. She asked, tell us how state central delegates get elected.
So they get elected at the BPOU conventions in odd numbered years. And so if you've ever been to the state convention, if you are, or a congressional district convention, you go to your caucus on an even numbered year, and then you have a BPOU convention, usually about a month or so after the caucus, and you can run to be a delegate to the state convention, or for like the governor, endorsing for governor or U.S. Senate, or national delegates, or to the congressional district convention if you're at a contested congressional endorsement. Well, then a year later, you have another BPOU convention. That's where you elect your officers, BPOU chair and deputy chair, secretary, treasurer, stuff like that. And that's where they elect the state central committee delegates for a 2-year term on the odd numbered years. So if you went to your caucus a year ago, you could, even if you didn't go to your caucus, you could still go and run for a state central delegate in most BPOUs, but you don't get to vote for yourself then. But if you went to your caucus last year and you're a delegate from caucus, go out to your GOP BPOU convention, whether it's late. We just approved the window for the conventions just yesterday.
Sjogren Suss says the BPUs will be convening starting in early January. Check your spam so you don't miss the convention. So the window starts in January too,
Yeah, I believe it's late January through March.
Okay, got it. And so basically it's the same thing as becoming a delegate in the election years, as you just make an appeal, give a speech. There's less spots. State Central is only about 350 people, but you make an appeal why you should be the person to get elected the next level, and certainly being a pro-Trump person is probably going to be a very good message for you. Is that correct? Is that correct, Jesse?
Yeah.
I threw you a softball. You looked like you were going to say something. That's why I was
comments. I was thinking about something else.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. His mind's wandering. You're thinking about Trump? By the way, the best Trump news of the day yesterday, there's so many things going on, including drones in New Jersey, which we'll get to, is ABC News settled with Trump, and they got to pay $15 million to his library. They're going to fund his legacy. Oh, you can't make this up. What do you got, Dale? You look like you're shuffling through some papers over there.
Just coming up with the dates here for the BPO convention. So it's January 15th to March 8th. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term BPOU, it stands for Basic Political Operating Unit. And so that's how you can volunteer. That's how you can get involved. And that's how you can have more success for conservatives to win in the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. So we need you, listeners out there. I encourage you that you can make a difference. I mean, some of these votes here, there was 2 votes difference in the deputy chair race. 2 votes.
5 votes, wasn't it?
Actually, hang on.
Yeah, we were tracking 5. But
I wrote it down.
Same talking point.
Oh, it was
here.
4.
Oh, was
Donna
it 4?
got 166. Kip got 162.
Gotcha. So
4 votes.
razor thin, right?
But yeah, it's razor thin. Yeah. I mean,
that's basically 3 people voted the opposite direction. Kip would have been the deputy chair.
You know,
By the way,
and I see Cindy Lou asked how many are elected per BPOU. That's determinative of how many votes the Republican candidates got in your area. And each BPOU, this has been said by someone in the comments, I can't remember who, but it is determinative by your BPOU for a lot of the rules and the process for how you get elected. It's pretty similar wherever you go, but it is determinative by your BPOU. And maybe this is a question for Tucci. Wasn't there some sort of something passed that made the number of state central size shrink? Isn't that number going to be a smaller size than it currently is? You're on mute.
You muted yourself.
Hey, Cheesehead, you're on mute. You gotta take yourself off mute there, Cheesehead.
All right. Well, we're gonna go video and audio together one day. So, yeah,
it's not our side.
The number of delegates is the same, but the number of alternates shrank.
Okay.
Formerly, before the state convention this past year, you could have you got one slate of delegates, but your BPU you could elect up to 2 slates of alternates. That changed, so now it's only 1 slate of alternates, I believe. You could have had 2 or 3, so you could have had. My BPU gets 4 delegates. So you could have we can either have up to 8 or up to 12 alternates, depending if we had been electing 8. Most BPUs have been electing 2 times the number of delegates for alternates, but some, if they're far away, I mean, think about if your Kitson County or like on the Canadian border, they get 1 delegate. Well, they might want to elect 3 alternates because it's a 7-hour drive or something like that sometimes. So if state in Rochester, it's an 8-hour drive. Anyway, so yeah, you're only allowed 1 set of alternates, but that's not too relevant. I mean, it's still the same size voting body. It's just if there's fewer alternates that show up, there might be fewer seated.
By the way, to new people watching the show for the first time, he doesn't normally dress that way. Most people don't understand this, but Paul Tucci is actually an owner of an NFL team, so he is a cheesehead. That's why he's got it. That's what the owners of the Packers have to wear on Sundays, just so you know.
The Packers are actually playing this evening, so we're getting ready for kickoff here, so we're in the spirit.
Yeah, I'm aware. We have a job to do first. We have to cover some important stuff, Tucci. I'm aware. I will get you off air I'll get you off air by 7:15. Yeah. Don't you worry about that. You hear that guy? Jeez, unbelievable. Liberty first. Liberty comes before the Packers.
Well, I know. I was just saying that's why I'm wearing my cheesehead because it's almost kickoff. It's game time.
I thought you wore it all weekend. I want to go play this audio from the Brett Bussman interview. CD1 actually posted. This is really fascinating stuff. I would have played it for Mort, but unfortunately, I don't think you can hear it. So Tucci won't hear this, but I know you've listened to it. Dawson, let's pull this up. It's on the B1, and I want you to go to about 42 minutes. You can hear these guys are just asking Brett about any affiliation with Action for Liberty, which is interesting. Now even the DFL realizes Action for Liberty is a big reason why Hann got removed. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is an important affiliation.
Well, we really have to thank Aaron Ferris for exposing himself as a total puppet by releasing this audio. It's unbelievable how biased it come off.
This seems like a very private thing. How did he release this?
It's unlisted on YouTube.
Well, and it makes us wonder: did he record all of the conversations with all of the candidates? Is he going to release the interviews of Mike Murphy or Alex Blekish or David Hann? If he's going to release the Bussman one, why not apply it consistently?
Well, look, we called this out a week ago. We said this is what they're doing to Brett Bussman. They're trying to get him disqualified. We called that they're going to find the other ones qualified with reservations. It literally happened.
Right.
And he called us liars, by the way. Didn't he send out an email?
Right. Well, Aaron Ferris said that Action for Liberty was leaking personal information. And then what does he do? He leaks the personal information of these people by allowing everybody to now know who the members of the committee were.
By the way, it's still up. This is actually the YouTube page. So it's still up on the YouTube page as long as you have the link. Of course, we've gone ahead and downloaded it anyhow, so we'll have it forever under service. But go ahead and play this, Dawson.
Transparent. That problem, I believe, will take care of itself.
Okay. Okay, Vicky, then Lucas.
Sure. So my question is in 2 parts, and they are yes or no's. And so I'd appreciate it, Brett, if you would just answer them with yes or no.
Okay.
And the first one is, have you been charged with a crime?
Yes.
And the second part of the question is, were you arrested?
Yes.
Have you been arrested? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I was probably off in the time. I think it's the next question.
Lucas?
By the way, can we stop it there? It was a petty misdemeanor from 40 years ago. Didn't turn in a KO box. This was actually on his website. He was very
right.
open
Exactly.
about that.
It's almost like she didn't want him to explain that it was such a simple nothing burger. And of course, I'm sure all of the nominations committee members were already full aware of what it was actually about. He had explained it throughout this interview. So her asking that question was just to try to paint him in a bad light, and it looked petty on her part.
Right.
I can't believe you can get arrested for a cable box not getting returned.
Well, I mean, when you find the resources to arrest a grandma who runs a coffee bistro in another state, because she served coffee against the governor's wishes, nothing shocks me on what people will get arrested for. Well, look, they arrested Donald Trump.
Right.
And he's not even being charged with it anymore, right? That case is gone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, Brett. This question just came up when Jim had asked the question about other, groups that helped get elected Republicans that you have been involved with. I'm curious, you mentioned transparency. I was curious if you could detail your relationship with the group Action for Liberty. I believe you have been involved with them, and you did not mention them when Jim had asked that question.
Okay. So 2 years ago,
I just Googled something, guys.
Pause it real quick. Go ahead.
What's that? I just Googled this because I didn't think a petty misdemeanor is a crime. I just Googled, is a petty misdemeanor a crime in Minnesota? And the answer is, a petty misdemeanor is a small violation of law prohibited by Minnesota statute, not a crime.
Well, this wasn't Minnesota, so I don't know if that changes the story. And, be honest with you, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a fair point, right? Mm-hmm. What is a crime? You're breaking the law. Well, we all break the law. We don't follow the speed limit all the time, right? So, yeah, it's probably just a vague statement there. Go ahead and keep playing.
For the Senate SD5, and there was no training available, so I could learn how to run a campaign and
all right, stop right there. So he is trying to run for an office, and the party doesn't even offer training. Of course, they wouldn't want to offer training to him. He's challenging a Rhino state senator. And by the way, he won the endorsement against the Rhino state senator. And then the party cut off his dad access. David Hann cut off his party access, and they provided no support to their endorsed candidate. In fact, they offered negative support. All right, continue on.
And so that was the only, and it was at their facility, but they did not do the training. It was another group that did the training. And, I know that there was other people at that meeting as well, but it wasn't an Action for Liberty thing. It was just at their facility. So, and that's what my opponent tagged on me for that election when I did run for the Senate, was that I'm an Action for Liberty bomb thrower, and that's so far from the truth. It's not even. It's laughable. So, and then one thing I can say about that is that summer. That was the summer of the flu and all that business. And in Little Falls, the nurses, we were out there protesting the nurses because one of the hospitals over there was mandating different things to them, and they didn't want any part of it. And I think Action for Liberty was there at that. That would be the only interaction I really had with those folks.
By the way, let's stop it here, and they're going to continue on with the question on Action for Liberty because, of course, that's the most important thing for them running for chair. We got to get to the bottom of his affiliation with Action for Liberty. It's like, Brett, stop falling for their trap here. Like, they want you to distance. They want you to disown Action for Liberty. And by the way, you kind of are doing it, and then after you do it, they still find you unqualified. I would love to open my arms and bring you in here, Brett. Just embrace the good things from the Liberty movement. Don't try to disown it. Don't play their stupid games, because you play their stupid games and you still lose. They find you unqualified. What were you going to say?
I said disqualified. It wasn't even unqualified. They tried to disqualify him.
There you go, disqualified. Good point. All right, keep playing it.
So they branded me as an Action for Liberty person. And I guess what people need to do is you need to look at what do we share in common? And so if you look
Good
at what
point
they
there.
stand for, they have a lot of the same principles. It's the way they go about it. And I did have a conversation with Erik Mortensen about that. I said, you guys bring up points, but, can you maybe not be such a bomb thrower when you do it? So I've had the conversation
Let us do
with
our
him,
thing,
and I
Brett.
told him
Let us
after
do
I'm
our
elected,
thing.
we'll talk about it some more and see if we can come to some kind of terms. But
We
I'm
throw
not,
bombs when there needs to be bombs thrown.
I'll work with any group who has commonality with me. We'll work on a certain whatever that is. But it's just like our families. I mean, how much percentage do we actually agree with our spouse? What, 85% maybe? Other than that,
100% me.
At odds when it
100%.
comes to that stuff. So it's about finding common ground, and then working on those things. Does that explain my connection?
Yes, I'd also ask for another point of clarification here. In an article from February 25th, 2022, it said that you had also volunteered at their fair booth.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have
Okay, we'll go
we have Brett on
Michelle and
speed
then
dial
myself.
around here.
Just a quick question,
Right
just
here.
following up on Lucas's question there regarding Action for Liberty.
This is Michelle Mankey.
Have you done any
Your
recent
buddy over there, Dale.
meetings or podcasts with them recently?
Now I was on Truth Hurts the other night.
Same thing.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But let me tell you, so I would go on, I had calls from Professor Penn. I had calls from all various types, different types of groups about being on their program. And so if we don't reach out and tell people what we're about, they won't know.
There you go.
So
let's have a conversation.
If anybody wants to give me airtime and I can push the Republican agenda, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
That, wouldn't anybody do that?
I wouldn't, but that's me.
Oh, okay.
Jeez. Okay.
Wow.
That's enough
Okay.
there. That's your nominations
That's
committee right
pretty
there.
cool.
No, we won't have conversations with anyone else. Alex Plekish is basically getting told you shouldn't give Action for Liberty. You shouldn't give the Truth Hurts show the light of day. Why the people that literally the Democrats can even see are part of the reason Hann gets overthrown. Let's ignore them.
Well,
Let's
the thing
forget
is,
about that. Gee, that's a good strategy for winning in 2 years. Hello.
Right.
Jeez.
But here's the thing. Michelle Mankey wouldn't be interesting enough to have on the show anyway, so we could start with that problem. And, I think she sounded emotional, wound up. She needed to get herself in check there because, it's not our fault that they were acting in a corrupt way. It's not our fault that they were being exposed for that. It's their faults for acting in a corrupt way and tilting the scale for David Hann. If they had just done a fair job, none of this would have been a problem. She's the one who made a problem for herself.
Yeah, I don't know much about her, but all I hear is she trash talks us all the time and wastes people's time at CD4.
Right, I've heard she was trash talking me. I don't know if I've ever even had a in-person conversation with her, but she hated me before I even knew who she was.
Yeah, maybe she needs to be removed. All right, before we go to our post show, I just have to address this here. The drone. Oh, sorry, Tushi. I want your opinion on this too, but we'll cover some more in the post show. The drones over New Jersey. We're not going to talk too much about this thing, but I came in. I said to the guys, I'm like, hey, I think we should talk about this a little bit. You know about the story, don't you, Dale?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're actually a pilot, so maybe you got some perspective. Dawson was unaware of this.
Yep.
We literally have an alien invasion in New Jersey, and he's unaware of this story that's going on right now. I'm just kidding. I don't believe
it's deep state invasion.
What's that?
It's a deep state invasion.
It is a deep state invasion. So this is go to News Nation. This is a C1. Drones over New Jersey. Crisis in our skies. The drones have been spotted over New Jersey, parts of Mid-Atlantic. In some cases, they've been spotted near military facilities. Drone sightings are mistaken and are actually some drone sightings are mistaken are actually manned aircrafts. Of course, this is like anything. There's some truth to it, but then there's mistaken identities. Mysterious drones spotted flying at night over sensitive areas in New Jersey and other parts of the Mid-Atlantic region have prompted concerns from local residents, anger from lawmakers, and endless speculation on social media. The drones appear to avoid detection by traditional methods such as helicopter and radio, according to a state lawmaker briefed Wednesday by the Department of Homeland Security. Apparently, they're not producing a heat signature either, so it's harder to find at night. Okay, here's what I'm going to say about this. Doesn't it seem just really obvious that the fact that the government is not responding to saying what they know it is, like they don't know what it is?
Especially Alejandro Mayorkas. He's being so sketchy about it.
Right.
Not forthright.
Well, the whole Biden administration, the FBI is concluding, but we don't think it's hostile. Isn't this like the most obvious thing that it's the government's drones? It's
Right.
part of the deep state. They do kind of know. Maybe it's compartmentalized, so it's a very sensitive program, but that they are drones. Doesn't that seem very obvious here? Am I
With
going
everything
crazy?
on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah. And almost, you can get rid of the article there. And almost no one has the need to know. So here's the big question. Why? Why all of a sudden do they have these drones? And I've been reading some things, and one guy speculates that there's a nuclear, so this is a C2. This guy is in the drone industry. And I looked this up before. Hold on one second. His name is John, I want to say it's Ferguson. Saxon Unmanned.
Yeah, it's John Ferguson.
John Ferguson. Saxon Unmanned. And so he says that there was a, of course, when the Soviet Union fell, there was, a little bit of accountability issue with a bunch of the nuclear weapons, that there was some nuclear weapon that went missing. Actually, I think he was saying the Ukraine. I don't know much about the story, so I'm just kind of reiterating the thing that he has gone on. But he's an expert on what drones are used for, and that drones at night, really, the cameras aren't great because it's dark. So what the drones at night would be doing is looking for heat signatures or looking for basically some kind of detection of chemicals, methane or radioactive materials. And with the heightened problem with Russia, he's speculating, this is kind of where my head's at, is what's going on here is some Department of Defense program is flying drones, and for some reason in that area, they feel this is an area that is highly threatened by some kind of aggression, most likely Russia. Maybe it's not Russia, but that's what these things are doing up there, and they're just not telling the people. And I don't know how long this thing's going to go on. Am I off base on this? Am I going crazy?
No, it seems like that's what's going on. Obviously, the other rumor flying around right now is Iran. I guess Jeff Van Drew is a part of that. He's pushing that conspiracy, so it doesn't seem like there's any legitimacy to that. It doesn't, I think Iran is pretty consumed with their own problems right now. I don't think that they would have the capacity to be flying drones over New Jersey right now, and I don't think the United States would be tolerating it. So I think the most likely theory is that it's coming from our own government. They want to see how the people react.
Dale, you got any thoughts on this?
Well, I think the possibility of a suitcase nuke is one of the most plausible possibilities, and they're searching for it, but I don't think you can really do it with a drone. It might be a last-ditch attempt by the Biden administration to see how far they can push the public.
That is a good point, because that's what they did during COVID.
And they did that with COVID, of course, right?
Right.
So how far can we scare the public before they take matters into their own hands?
Yeah.
Right. It's beta tests, and like we're all lab rats.
Yeah.
While I don't have any personal knowledge about the drones and who owns them, I'm certain they're U.S. government, U.S. military.
Right. Because otherwise we'd shoot them down, you would think, right?
Fact. Pardon?
We'd shoot them down if they weren't, right?
Sure, absolutely.
We think.
Yeah.
We think they would do that.
Yeah.
We did have big balloons or whatever those things were come across the entire United States and never got shot down, but...
Well, that's true. So who's got some Chinese relationships in the government that they want to protect?
Interesting. Well, we can't look into that now because he's been pardoned for life, so that's fine. All right, let's go to the post show. This is for our premium subscribers. If you're not a premium subscriber, $8 a month or $88 a year. A lot of people like to do the year, which we appreciate. It helps out the show, helps the studio, helps us do more things, and we got a lot in store for 2025. I can't believe it's around the corner. We only have 4 more shows. This is crazy for this year. And then we got a rocking good 2025. It's going to be an important year. A lot of things that are very important that we got to tackle. And we couldn't do it with our great sponsors today, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you want to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. If you're looking to buy a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at financing that home. You can go johngaltmortgage.com. And thank you to Alpine Cabinetry St. Cloud. Thank you to I can't remember, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and who was the other? Do you remember the other? It was right at the beginning in terms of Rumble Rants. Thanks for the Rumble Rants, everybody. Also, we'll be doing a Tuesday, Thursday show this week and a Sunday show. Then we take a break for Christmas, and then we'll be back for the final show. It looks like Sunday, December 29th. That'll be a final show of the year.
And it was G. Ballstead who gave us the first Rumble Rant.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
So if you're not a premium subscriber, go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on the top, hit support, and then you could sign up for your Freak Locals account. Otherwise, you can go on Rumble, which is the home for the show, although we're on all the platforms right now. But click on, what is it? Is it join? What is it? Subscribe, join?
I think it's join.
Join. Right there. There's a green button that says join. Hit that, and you could be on the post show. For everyone else, we'll see you on Tuesday. For those that are premium subscribers, we'll be back in 1 minute. Take care.